Five, four, three, two, one. Hey there, podcast listener, and welcome to Spiritual Dope. Today, I've got Marisa Nash joining me, and she is a woman's life wellness coach, executive coach, meditation teacher, yoga instructor, corporate wellness consultant. She embodies all these things, and but she pulls it together in a holistic manner. So she's a holistic life coach, and her mission is to teach you how to tap into the wisdom of your mind, body, and soul, and learn to trust your intuition and step into your personal power, both personally and professionally. As a certified life coach for over 5 years and over 1,000 hours of yoga instructor for 9 years, specializes in self-care, meditation and mindfulness techniques, and she's also a certified coach and a corporate wellness consultant. There's quite a bit more. So you've got it all going down. But as it kind of relates to this, you believe in many holistic modalities that you use with your clients, such as lifestyle coaching, yoga, mindfulness, visualization, and Reiki. And I'll leave it for anyone who wants to find out more about all that you're doing to head over to your website after they kind of check it out. But welcome, and thanks for joining today.
Thanks, Brandon. I'm really excited to be here.
You have no idea what you're in for, do you? You're like, I have no idea what's happening.
Not quite, but I like the energy of it.
I love it. I love it. So you and I were connected by a good friend of mine, Jeremy Todd, who we started our podcast adventure years ago with each other. He was quite literally my first interview. And you two connected, and he said, you got to talk to Brandon. You're right down the street from me. You're over in Philadelphia. You're from the area as well. And let's kick it off. I mean, what oh, that's what I want to start. Where are your cards at? Do you have your cards nearby? Your tarot cards? Because this is how you start Marisa starts her podcast with a kind of a card reading. I don't, but I love the idea. So I figured I'd spring that on you. Let's find one. Do you want to pull a card and tell us what we're up for?
I love it. Yes, I would love to do that. I do on my podcast and in sessions with all my clients. I pull cards. I find that it's really important just to connect spiritually with, you and I are humans on this earth doing the best we can. But, what is the divine guidance that we need to be tuned into, and also for your listeners. So I use oracle cards. I'm a big fan of Gabby Bernstein, so I'm using her Super Attractor deck.
I wasn't aware of, she's a spiritual junkie, right? Is that right? Isn't that her thing?
Yeah,
I love it, right? And it plays in line with Spiritual Dope, right? Come on now.
Yes, I love it.
Yes.
Okay, so this is a cool one. So I'll read this over us. So it says, the more I attune my energy with appreciation, the more the universe will deliver.
I love it. What's that mean for us today?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I don't know where this conversation will go, but a big belief that I have is around manifestation. And in order to manifest, you really have to appreciate what you have, and you have to be in energy and in alignment with appreciation and gratitude. It's a big part of my story, and what I help clients with is really focusing on living a life in alignment with gratitude and appreciation and a state of abundance. So I imagine that will come up today.
Absolutely. I mean, look, so it's always the line is appreciate what you have, right? Just in general, just be grateful for the things that you do have. It doesn't matter if you've got a lot, but at least want what you have, right? Because if you've got a lot and you don't want it, that's not serving you, right? Mm-hmm. Right. For your information, so I grew up with a hippie mom, right?
Me too.
And yeah, we'll see. There you go. And it was she always called it these lifestyle trappings, right? These are all the trappings. If you've got all these things, then you're kind of trapped with those things, right? Because you're trapped with those things. You're maintaining them, right? So let's jump into your journey a little bit. I want to share a little bit of your backstory. Realizing you're from the Philadelphia area, you're a Penn Stater? Penn State? Yes. Is that right? So Penn State, my wife went to Penn State as well. She still talks about it. She still loves it. Seems like it must have been a good time there, but you've traveled around a little bit. And most recently, if I'm following the story, you're back here from Texas, right? Perfect. Is that right? Okay. So walk us in a journey from, Penn State to where you are today? Any synopsis, any way you want to do it?
Yeah, I would love to, because my journey actually in wellness did start 9 years ago at Penn State, which is a little surprising because you think Penn State, party school. I was in a sorority, and I had this moment my junior year of college where I just knew that I was seeking more. I felt like, I did the college thing. There's something more for me, but I didn't know what it was. And I remember my best friend, Becca, came back from summer break, and she just looked different. She looked radiant. She looked, what I would call really well. And I just asked him, like, Becca, what have you been doing? She's like, it's yoga. And I'm like, yoga? What's yoga all about? Let me try it. And so we would do a 90-minute hot yoga class at this little apartment in State College on campus at Penn State. This guy named Doug owned it, and he would just plug heaters into the wall of this apartment studio that he rented. And we would do hot yoga for 90 minutes, and then it would end with a yoga nidra, a pretty long 30-minute, I feel like sometimes even 40-minute yoga nidra practice, which is
what's yoga nidra?
It's a deep meditative practice. So you're going deep into your subconscious through guided meditation. So I was introduced to meditation, spirituality, and yoga, at one of its deepest levels at a very young age. And I don't think I knew how powerful that really was, but it worked for me. It calmed a lot of my anxiety. I had been a dancer when I was in middle school. I quit around high school. And I think that creative element was really missing from my life. So I felt like I had found my place. I did one yoga class and called my dad the next day as a college student. I said, Dad, I'm going to get certified to be a yoga teacher.
I'm sure he'd love that.
Can I have $2,000 or $3,000? Right. And I'll pay you back. And I did it. I honestly took one yoga class, signed up for teacher training the next day with the philosophy that, if I pay for the teacher training, I get free yoga classes and I get to be certified as a teacher. So it made sense to me. Absolutely. And from there, my journey took off. I actually worked for Lululemon for a while in 2 different stores in Philadelphia and in Charleston, South Carolina. And Lululemon was a great setup for me at a young age. They were really big on goal setting. There was a lot of transformational leadership that was happening within the organization, and just a lot of ways to really connect with the wellness community as well. So I really do accredit a lot of my early career to what I learned at Lululemon. Mm-hmm. And that ended me up in Charleston. I ended up moving to Charleston before Charleston was, the place that it is today. This was, 6 years ago. Mm-hmm. And stayed in Charleston for a little while, worked at Lululemon, didn't teach much yoga there, but then I really started teaching yoga when I moved to Southern California.
Wait a second, because there's a Bill Murray story in Charleston.
Yeah.
Right? Let's highlight that just for a second, because, listen, my wife and I were down in North Carolina for a little bit. You and I had talked a little bit about this before. And we're like, the only reason we would go to Charleston would be to catch up with Bill Murray. What happened between you and Bill Murray?
I don't know Bill Murray. I've never met him, but
No?
No.
Yeah, we did. We had this conversation. He came up. That's not you? Are you sure?
I never met him. I mean, he lives there, but I never met him. Yeah. That wasn't it.
You would have told me that story then.
I don't know.
Who the hell have I been talking to? Okay, keep moving then.
Someone else in Charleston. Yeah, no, he has a restaurant though. Apparently, that's really good.
Really? That wasn't us? That wasn't this conversation?
Mm-mm.
Man, all right. Yeah. I'm usually pretty good with this, but go ahead.
So then I actually ended up moving to Southern California. I got a job teaching stand-up paddleboard yoga in Laguna Beach, and I managed this little paddleboard shop in Laguna on the ocean, and it was awesome. Living in Southern California, being in my early 20s, I really got to live out a lot of the dreams that I had. And I then got connected with Core Power Yoga. So I taught full-time yoga in Southern California. I also managed a Core Power Yoga studio for a little while, another amazing organization to be a part of. Great leadership development inside of the organization. And then I honestly moved back to Charleston and did some nonprofit work for a little while, and all along have been a life coach. So I've been a life coach for 5 years. I've always specifically focused on women, helping them to transform their lives, whatever that looks like for them, whatever their end goal is. In the recent couple of years, my my primary focus has been on holistic wellness and really helping women to map out what their wellness plan looks like. I found for me, when I really got in touch with, okay, my wellness is a priority. It took me a little while to figure out. It was almost difficult. It was hard. It was like this undercover topic of like, I would walk in like a crystal shop and be like, do you know anyone that practices Ayurveda? Or like, you know, like, do you know anyone that's doing energy healing? And it's like, why was this so hard to find? And
It's a
so
subculture. Yeah.
yeah,
Total
so
subculture.
exactly. But what I knew worked for me. And so that's really led me to design, the Well Co., which is my wellness coaching firm, as well as my corporate wellness programs. And, as of late, the Well Method, which really guides women through a 1-year program where they actually get to meet with me as their transformational leadership coach, but then also get access to 4 other holistic healers that they get to do private sessions with within the year. Because that's what I found works for me, is being able to work with a lot of different modalities and a lot of different healers to make sure that I'm well in all different areas of my life.
No, I love it. I love it. And I love, look, I mean, initially, right, even back in college when you're doing, it's kind of the body movement, right, with the yoga, and then you go right into, that Yoganandra, right, like going into the deep meditative state. And, I think it's a lot of people know to move their bodies, right, and work their bodies, and that's really important. But what they don't do after that is take some time to kind of go within.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. I want to know more about your hippie mom. Yeah. So, I mean, was it easy for you then for me to kind of jump into this space mentally? It was kind of an easy transition for myself because of a hippie mom, right? So I'm just curious if that was similar for you.
Yeah, so my parents are both deadheads, so Grateful Dead all day long in our house still. And yeah, I think my mom, so my dad, I would describe him as like, yeah, deadhead. He still goes to like cover shows and yeah, super into it. Just my dad was always so supportive of me and my dreams. He's also an entrepreneur, so that I think that really helped me. So I've never been limited in that. And my mom is very spiritual. She's very open-minded. I love that about her. I remember she would buy me books of, different world religions, and she always just encouraged me to explore and to really honor people and their faith and their spirituality, their race. I mean, what they believed. And I'm really grateful for that. It's something that, as you get older, you realize that not everybody is raised that way. And I really was raised to be empowered to make my own decisions in my faith and spirituality career. And it's helped me a lot, I think, be a leader in this space.
No, I love it. And it seems like, you're totally aligned with kind of your purpose. I mean, what would you say your purpose is? Because, I think as a coach, right, coming from the coaching space as well, as a coach, it's our job to help others bring out the best in others, right? And I had another guy, I had a coach, and look, I have, I'm not a Christian. I don't come from a Christian background, but my coach was like, my job is to bring people to Christ. And I was like, okay, tell me what that means to you, right? Because I mean, that could mean anything to anybody, right? And when he explained it to me, it was, to kind of bring you to your divine self, help you step into your power, that type of thing. So what does coaching mean to you? What's your end game? Like when you're coaching somebody, what's that transformation really mean to you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for me, I would say, since I work specifically with women, it's to help them to live a life that feels in alignment. So I do a lot of limiting beliefs work. I also really do believe in meditation because I think that we can get covered in beliefs about ourselves or the way that the world works that aren't true. And for me, it's been most healing to clarify, but what beliefs do I choose? And then from that place, I can then make empowered decisions about my life. And, it's difficult. And that's why I think coaching is so valuable, because, it's difficult making decisions for my life that don't fit the mold for what everybody else is doing. And I know I've always kind of been that way, but through coaching and having my own coach, you're validated, you're affirmed, you're reminded that that's okay. I'm also really big on community. So I do have a community called The Well, and that's really designed so that women can come together and explore who they are and still be loved along the way. So that's really important to me. The way that I do that, I can talk about later, but it's really about making empowered decisions for your life based on you learning how to live a life that's in alignment for you, not based on what anybody else wants for you.
No, absolutely right. I mean, there's the process of kind of going to unlearn everything you've been taught, right?
Yeah.
But in the sense, and try not to do it too dramatically, right? Like you always think about, I have a good buddy of mine, and we always talk about, the Matrix, and nobody makes their first jump, right? And just trying to, like, look, you're going to make that first jump, and if you quote unquote fail, or if you fall down and hit your face, I mean, that's all in your mind, right? Like you just get back up and you keep at it, right? How do you help these women to expand and understand their limiting beliefs?
Yeah, definitely. I like what you said about, I don't think it's a hard and fast process. I think that can actually be more disruptive and counterproductive. So, I actually did a limiting belief session with a client yesterday, but that was her sixth time working with me. So we've been working together for 3 months. It's something that I think the relationship with coach and client is really important. I'm definitely the type of coach where, it's not a one-off session. I don't even offer one-off sessions. Like it's a year-long program at this point, because you have to feel really safe. You have to feel really safe and secure with the people that you're working with to really transform on a deep level. So the limiting beliefs work, I actually was inspired to create that from John Maxwell. It was literally like a 4-sentence line in one of his books that I read. And I was like, that's it. That's exactly what I need and what I feel like my clients have needed.
Right.
I used to run my coaching practice in that I would help my clients to visualize where they want to be. I would help them to set the goals to get there, and then I would hold them accountable. But I noticed they weren't actually achieving and accomplishing their goals because they were running up against these limits and these blocks. So that's why now I tackle the blocks and I let them know that it's normal to have blocks, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, like the unlearning process isn't unique to anyone. We all need that. So yeah, it's really, I would say, like guiding them and holding their hand through it, but also empowering them. I don't give them words or language. I might give them examples, but ultimately they end up with an affirmation that is going to then rewire their brain to push them to where they want to be in a loving and kind way.
I love it. I love, and John Maxwell is really awesome, right? I wasn't a fan of his until his latest book, right? And I don't even know what the name of it is, but somebody shared it with me.
Yeah.
And the leader shift, right?
Yes.
So the leader shift Audible was like so good, and like I'm literally mowing my lawn listening to it. And I was like, that's it. This is great. And I'm like, and then I was like, get fine. I'll go read some more of his stuff. Because coming from that subculture background, and you can't, that's more, it's a little too square hole for me, right? So I finally accepted him into my life. That's my John Maxwell story. But it's like that, right? You have, and this is my process, right? It sounds kind of similar, where you've got the idea in your mind, and it's not until like you stumble across something else that explains it for you. Like, oh my God, that 4 lines right there explains what I've been trying to convey, but I haven't been able to do it. And there it is. And it's just like, it bursts right there, kind of like a starburst, right? So I love that. Let's talk a second about like, spirituality and divinity, right? I mean, I think I heard you say divinity, talk a little bit about that, on one of your podcasts. And then, what's that mean to you? Like kind of taking divine grace and spirituality, right? Like, fill me in. Like, what's that mean?
For me, my spirituality is a constant exploration. I remember when, I was a Christian at a point, and then I wasn't, and I was raised Christian. So I kind of went in and out, and, I am no longer a Christian. And I remember asking myself, like, well, who do I pray to then? And for me, it was kind of helpful and fun to just explore, ask other people, like, well, how do you pray? And what does that look like? And I would work with different healers and just kind of absorb and try on and then figure out what works for me. So currently, my spiritual practice, my spirituality looks like a lot of meditation, a lot of self-reflection, a lot of letting go of being told what to do and how to do it, and challenging and questioning and digging in. But a big spiritual practice for me is just reciting some affirmations and prayers that I have. One that I specifically love that I'm working with right now is I love myself unconditionally. I feel myself unconditionally. I feel myself loving myself unconditionally. I feel myself forgiving myself unconditionally. We thank you, we thank you, we thank you. So the past, the present, and the future. And I love that prayer. So that's just something that brings me back to a place of centering and grounding, and then just helps me move on with my day. So yeah, for me, it's really being connected to the divine throughout the day. So cards help me with that, meditation, prayer, yoga, breath work is a big practice of mine. I think there are a lot of different ways to spirituality. And if you're someone that's looking to explore spirituality, I highly recommend White Hot Truth by Danielle Laporte. She kind of tackles all these different spiritual practices and religions and beliefs in a really loving, hilarious way. And it really freed me up to be like, this doesn't need to be so serious, you know?
Right,
I can just explore and try on and see what works for Marisa.
For sure, for sure. I love that. I love that. Right. It doesn't have to be so serious, and it doesn't have to be. You don't have to just kind of make fun of the way that there's always like a headband. Like, listen, if you go to a Dead concert, everybody looks like they go to a Dead concert, right? And sometimes you get the same type of thing with spirituality. You go to you're like, oh, you know what? This looks like it could be a pretty cool spiritual group. You show up and everybody's wearing like the same kind of tie-dye skirt, like the beads around their neck, and there's definitely some crystals going on, right? But it doesn't have to be. You don't have to look the part to be spiritual, right? You don't have to be. Do it that way, and it doesn't sound like you're doing it that way. It sounds like you're doing. How's this look for Marisa, right? Connected to the divine. Then let's take it another layer deeper. What's the divine mean to you?
Yeah, so I really believe I kind of co-relate. It's a deep question. So I do pray for divine guidance. I've found that instead of, praying to God, I pray for divine guidance. So that's one way that I connect with the divine. I also view the divine as our higher self. So sometimes I will visualize either my higher self or my higher self showing up as golden light and invite that into my body and clear and release any beliefs within me that are not in alignment with my higher self, who I believe is the divine version of me.
Okay. Is the divine self just kind of tracking it out, right? First of all, I love the imagery. Is it the divine self a part? Is it within you, a part of you, or separate from you? Like, I'm just where we at with that?
I see it as something I can always connect with. I think I'm not personally actually someone that believes in I'm not trying to achieve enlightenment on this earth, but I think I'm a human. A soul in a human's body. I'm very human and very much of this world.
Sure.
Drink coffee every day. It's like I'm a human. I don't believe in wearing all white and being spiritually enlightened and calling it a day. And I love being a human and love being in this body so that I can bring divine guidance to this earth. So yeah, I think for me, it's something that I can always access and also is within me. But because I live in the world, that can be clouded.
Sure. No, I get it. And first of all, I'll throw out I made a coffee cup. It says first coffee, then awakening. Right.
Yeah. There you go.
Right. Because we are totally human, and some days we're just if you catch me before this cup of coffee might not be the best idea. Right. So here's why I'm digging into that. Right. Because, I think the line came from Joe Dispenza, right? We only rise to our level of thinking, right? If we only rise to our level of thinking, and then if we think that, and there's nothing wrong with being human, right? If we think that we're just human, and we just think that we're these shells, and we just think that we're these flesh bags, and there's nothing wrong with that. But once you kind of introduce your higher self, once you introduce this connection to divinity, once you access the divinity, your divine self, and you've got that ability to access that, what does that do to your level of thinking, right? And to me, that just means that you access a different level or phase of thinking. So with your divine divinity and divine grace, you're able to take on more than you could if you were just human, right? And again, I'm not saying just humans are bad. We all have, everybody has the ability. And the other part of this too is like, if we go all the way back, what beliefs do you choose, right? You can choose, if we use Albert Einstein, either everything's a miracle or nothing's a miracle. Right. If we use the Vedanta, right? I don't know if you listen to Swami Sarvarananda, right? I totally butchered that last name, but I got all the syllables. If you ever check him out, like, I mean, there's 44 hours like where he's got an introduction to Vedanta, but like part of it is either you're all of it or none of it, right? You're either all of the universe or you're none of it. You're connected 100% or not at all. So, but that's a choice that you make, and once you make those choices, right, it starts to open up, and it sounds like you do some LOA, right? Like, I mean, law of attraction stuff, it all kind of plays in. And that's why, I'm kind of digging in on the divinity part, just kind of seeing where you are with that. So once you accept your divine access, how do you feel like that transformed you?
Yeah, it's interesting because actually I'm going to relate this to the way that I help people to access their most divine self, for sure, is through meditation, visualization. I take them through, deep guided journeys. But I also, because of the human experience, I really help them to focus on what their core desired feelings are and how do they want to feel in this life. Because I believe that when you can access that, then you can actually live out your most divine and most empowered self. So for me, once I connected with, who am I and what are my wants and my needs and desires, which is typically more difficult for women than it is for men. I was really able to make decisions for my life that bettered my life, that made me feel more in alignment, that started to attract more of what I wanted. And you kind of alluded to it, but I think that perspective is key. And that's why in the beginning, when we pulled this card, attuning your energy to appreciation is huge, because if you can attune yourself to appreciation or, to an affirmation of gratitude, to what's already amazing in front of you, you're going to start to, yes, I believe, attract more of it, but also have eyes for seeing more of it. So I'm a big believer in that as well.
100%. I call that like kind of setting your filters, right? Like I pretend like we're all walking Googles, right? If I go and I say, show me beautiful things in Google, it returns beautiful things. It never, ever does it return like a whole bunch of crap, right? So if we wake up every day and you're like, oh, this sucks, that sucks, this sucks, that sucks, you're setting your filter to this sucks, and that's all you're going to see, right? So I'm going to pick on you a little bit here on the women, women and kind of determining what they want, versus men, right? Mm-hmm. As a challenge, right? What makes you say that?
Yeah. The masculine energy, like the divine masculine, is much more rooted in what they want, what they need, getting those needs met. It's much more stable and consistent. Just even, we could go deep, like our hormone cycles are different, so men are very static from day to day. So they wake up and what they want is pretty much the same every day. Women are more on a 28-day hormone cycle. So we change and we ebb and we flow, and the divine feminine it's more creative. It's more open. It's more sensitive. So for us, it actually can change a lot. This goes for both women and men, but a lot of women that I work with are also empaths, so they can take on a lot of other people's energies, and men can do that too, absolutely. But yeah, I think that, women are naturally a little bit more curious and sensitive and willing to go with the flow versus be like, this is what I want, this is what I need day in, day out.
Sure. No, fair enough. And here's the only thing I'll say about that is that I think that's just our Western conditioning, right? And I hit on this all the time with kind of anybody I talk to, especially guys, when we're growing up, right, as men, it's like and women too, I'm sure. It's like, all right, well, don't give into your emotions, right? Don't react to your emotions, and you can't let your emotions control you. And what that translates into for me as a child, right, is, oh, I'm feeling something, I need to shut that off and never address it again, right? And I think that that's kind of where that's what we see, right? The men's non-ability or haven't traditionally been trained to address their emotions, right? Even identify them, right? And I think that that's the big challenge. It's like, hey, do you even know what you're feeling right now? Because if you don't know what you're feeling, how can you address it, right? It's just the whole awareness thing. Be like, if it doesn't have a label, you can't do anything with it, right?
Yeah.
So that's the one thing that I'll throw out there, because I feel like men kind of get a bum rap, and we don't. I don't know what the hell I want, right? You know what I mean? It's like, I'm just doing what the guy ahead of me just did, or over there. I'm like, this shit works. We'll try that. What did he just do? I'm going to do that, right? It's just like, you got 2 burgers, I'll get 2 burgers. Whatever. Right.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like our social training, right?
Yes.
I'm just saying, give men a chance,
Yeah.
It's the idea of like, have that open dialogue, right? And that's a challenge too for men. It's like, they feel like, and I'm going to go just on my own here. So if we kind of open up and share a feeling, and first of all, we're like, we don't even know. We're like, it feels kind of like this amorphous blob over here. Let's let's whittle it down until we can figure it out. And nobody wants to be caught in that situation. Be like, I'm feeling these things and I don't even know what they are. Do you want to talk about that? Because that could get rejected, right?
Yes. No, that's a really great point. I definitely do agree. I think all of us can benefit from being more self-aware. So the first piece is the awareness piece of how do I want to feel, and not just
I love that. Yeah.
Day in, day out. Like you said, this is what the person ahead of me did, so this is how I have to do it. One affirmation that I've been telling myself lately as I, bring some new programs into existence for the WellCo is just, I can be the first to do it, because I want to overcome that belief of, well, I have to do it a certain way because that's how society's done it. It's like, I'm an Aquarius and I'm here to innovate, and I'm
there it is too. I mean, there's the other part.
In a certain way. So
When's your birthday?
January 27th.
25th. Oh, so, that's funny. The idea though, how do you want to feel in this life, right? So let's say you're working with us women that aren't overly connected with their emotions. How do you get them connected to those emotions, and to get them to even explore that idea?
Yeah, so it is a process. So I use the 9 areas of wellness, and with each of those areas, we go through an entire map of how they're feeling on a scale of 1 to 10 in that area. Then we talk about what's currently happening. So that's the awareness piece in that area. And then I have them just free write and journal about how they want to feel or what they want in that area. So it could be like, I want to buy a house, or I want a different career, whatever it is. And then we go back and I really have them focus on the feelings behind what they desire. Yeah. And then I have them narrow those down. And then we start to set action steps and goals around those feelings, because honestly, the hardest work is figuring out what you want to feel. Mm-hmm. Transformational process, even just doing that usually causes some shift in the person. But then once you start to get those needs met on small levels, it feels good. I always share that we are so primal. We are primal beings. We want to feel good. We want what we want. So when you get clued into what you want, you're going to go and get it, as long as you can start small, and then you're going to want more of that and more of that. I always say, it's like, if you're a runner, I'm a runner, but after I go for a run, I could be having a pretty shitty day, and I'll go for a run, and then I'm like, I feel great. Everything's okay. I want to drink a green juice. I want to wake up early tomorrow and do yoga. I'm like, because I feel good. I did something good for myself. So the more small good things you can do for yourself, I think the more you can press into that transformation a little bit quicker.
Yeah, and I think you talked about that in the beginning too. Like, how do I start doing wellness just for myself, right? How do you is that how you start some of your clients off, right? Small bits and pieces, and what's some of the reactions that they get? Like, what are some timelines that you look at with seeing some transformations in people?
Oh man, it's so cool. So I really do focus my practice on women who work in corporate. They certainly don't have to, but a lot of my clients do work in corporate. So it's really amazing to see that the work that we do in their personal life actually translates into their corporate space. They
Yeah.
are much more confident, and this is within a couple of months.
Yeah.
So that they notice that they're much more confident. They're making healthier decisions for their life. They're trying a lot of different wellness modalities that feel like they finally fit, because
Right.
I'm the type of coach that will be like, cool, we're going to have you do yoga, but how are you feeling and what do you need? Oh, okay. So you're anxious. So let's not have you do power yoga. Let's have you do some yin yoga. So it's
Right.
very holistic in that way, really looking at the client as a unique individual. Their relationships begin to change very quickly. And yeah, they're just overall happier, and they get feedback really quickly from other people. A lot of my clients are like, people are telling me that I seem happier. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
it makes sense.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love it. I love, look, I mean, everybody I think needs it, right? To kind of go through the process. At, le- at least have somebody out there encouraging them and seeing them for who they are, right? Be like, I see you for who you are, and we're going to help you to see the same for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit more about the Well Method, like kind of what you got going on there?
Yeah, sure. I'd love to. So, oh man, the Well method was really, I would say, birthed into existence just from a gap that I experienced in the wellness industry. And this obviously is, my personal methodology and what works for me. So there are plenty of ways to do wellness. But what I noticed when I really wanted to start my wellness journey, and I was like, I'm ready. This is important to me. I'm ready to invest in it. Like I mentioned earlier, it was hard to it felt like I was piecemealing everything together, and it honestly started to add up. I'm like working with one healer there and I'm driving 30 minutes, and then I found this other Ayurvedic coach and I have to go 45 minutes into the city, and I'm like driving all over and scheduling all these appointments, and it was a little overwhelming. Yes, it absolutely worked, and I've connected with so many incredible wellness leaders. So what I've done with the Well method is I've developed a 1-year program. So my clients actually work with me as their holistic life coach, and then they also quarterly get a session with a wellness expert. So I'll have somebody that teaches them Ayurveda in a private one-on-one session, and that really helps them to understand more about their own body and seasonal wellness. I have a girl that will be doing body acceptance and self-love, working with an astrologer, and then a womb wisdom guide and healer. So it's an amazing, I think,
What was the last one?
a womb wisdom guide and healer.
Womb Wisdom Guide.
Yes, this might be new for you.
That's interesting. That's interesting. I've never heard, and it's just fun to say actually. Womb
It
Wisdom.
is, yeah. It's like a really cool creative title. But she teaches women how to cycle track and how to actually use their cycle to their advantage, which is really important in women's wellness.
Sure, man. It's like the tides of the ocean, no doubt, right?
Yeah,
And I'm sure that there's like some emotional ebbing and flowing, right? When are you going to use that the high tide of energy?
you got it. Can tell you have a wife. You understand.
Yeah. So listen, again, I grew up, my hippie mom,
Oh yeah,
a single mom. It's just kind of like, it's kind of already there, right? It's all that stuff's there. So advantage, disadvantage, I don't know. And so you're rolling this out. This is going to come out like around July. So are we going to be live in July?
Yes, we will be live in July. So I've actually already been doing, I would say, half of this program for years now.
Okay.
So it's really just an accumulation of everything that has worked, and then really making it personalized. It will be a personalized wellness plan so that you don't have to go find all the healers and ask the weird questions and go into crystal shops and feel like you're like trying to do something bad, So
You got amethyst in there, bro.
paying under the table. It's all brought and designed specifically for you, and actually, it's based on seasonal wellness. So we'll go through different wellness topics that I have found to be transformative in my life, based on the seasons and the nature of each season, and what I believe that we should be holistically looking at in those seasons.
I love it.
Yeah.
On your page, Where did I find you at? Wellness podcast. You've got your wellness podcast. You offer free virtual training on your site. You've got some meditations on there. You've got books we love. I'm gonna go ahead and just say, Playing Big by Tara Moore. You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. Desire Map. Which one did you mention at the beginning? Right. White Hot.
Yes. White Hot Truth is by Danielle Laporte, and she also wrote the Desire Map. And all of my clients get the Desire Map as a gift when they start. It's an incredible book.
Right. And I saw you had in your picture Untethered Soul. So you're a Michael Singer fan, right?
Yeah, great book.
Have you read The Surrender Experiment?
I haven't. Should I?
It's interesting. It has actually changed me, and just like his whole concept of it, right? And I actually interviewed this guy named Greg Bernstein. He's like a shaman, guy doing vortex tours in Hawaii, and he's much more than that. I'm not doing him any justice, but he talks about it too. We talk about LOA, right? And we also kind of talk about the concept of you already have limiting beliefs. Even your most unlimited thought of what you want is pretty limited, right? We think the box is huge, right? But really we're playing like in like this kind of a pixel of it, as it were. So who am I to go tell the universe what's best for me, right? And so Michael Singer kind of does it in this way where he says, I'm pretty sure the universe wants what's best for me, but like even more than I could ever imagine. So I'm just going to surrender to what the universe has to offer. Right. And I was like, that's pretty potent, bro.
I love that.
It's pretty big. Right. And then like his whole story is pretty interesting, but just like that kind of idea. I was like, all right. So I wasn't sure if you'd read that one. What, so you're doing the cards. What is something that else that's kind of like just radically changed your whole spiritual journey, or anything that you're doing? What is a book, a movie, a song, poem, whatever?
Yes. Well, I'm going to add that book to my list because I really enjoy that and think I would really love that. So you know what? I'm going to throw this one in there. This is probably not what you're expecting. Probably doesn't sound as spiritual as it is, but just joy and having fun, like having so much fun. I think spirituality can get so serious. I'm someone, meditation is so important, getting on my mat, doing my yoga practices, but sometimes you just need to go like have a drink with a friend or, go do something fun for yourself. So for me, I bought a surfboard recently. I used to surf in California, and, my commitment is just to make sure that I'm at the beach and that I'm surfing and just really honestly like living the life that I want to live. So I'm going to throw in there just fun.
Yeah, I love it. And listen, it's actually in the word enlightenment, right? Light, be light, right? Like just kind of, it doesn't say in heavy mint, it doesn't say like, endurement and like carry all this heavy shit around with you and be stoic, and stoic gets a bad rap too. But I love it though. So, joy. And I like that you use joy over, happiness. I think joy is more sustained. And, more recently I heard the definition of happiness is completely external. It is literally based on happenstance of the things that you're around in your circumstances. Right. And I think that joy is something more innate that you can control. So I'll take it.
Yeah, I love that.
I'll take it. What, what would you say? What would you say that we haven't kind of hit on that is something that you would share?
Yeah, I don't think we talked too much about how transformational meditation is. I know that you meditate. I think what's really interesting, I'm a pretty, woo spiritual person, but I do also think that research is important. And there is so much research behind mindfulness and meditation. The practice of meditation that I often follow is mindfulness meditation. I completed John Kabat-Zinn's mindfulness-based stress reduction course through Thomas Jefferson University, and it was life-changing. Bringing mindfulness into your day can be so helpful to help you to access what's really going on. And, we both talked about the importance of awareness, right? So getting aware of what's going on through mindfulness is very helpful.
You on your podcast, you have a really nice way of kind of putting like mindfulness and meditation. You feel free to share that here, right? Like, it's not necessarily that your mind won't be distracted. It's that it will. It's to bring it back. So share a little bit of that.
Yeah, I see mindfulness and meditation as a training ground. So it's literally like me going into training, and I schedule it in, and I'm like, all right, this is where I train my mind, because what happens in that space lasts. Like I said, there's a lot of research around it, but the benefits of meditation last. So for me, I see it as a training ground, and just like anything that you're training in, it takes practice, and it's never going to be to a point where your mind is silent. Again, bringing it back to we are human. But it's about the relationship that you have with your thoughts. So you'll, be meditating, your thoughts come up. What is your relationship to them? And what are they showing you? And maybe you need to go off of the anchor of your breath, if that's what it is. If your anchor is your inhale and your exhale, and your body's speaking to you and it's like pain or uncomfortability, or I have this thought, listen to me, then it's kind of working with that and being like, yeah, body, yes, mind, yes, divine guidance, what are you trying to show me?
Right.
And that's really where I explore myself, and then also ask for spiritual guidance too.
I love that. Yeah, you're right. We didn't really talk about it too much. Meditation. The one thing that I learned through meditation, and you talked about unconditional love, right? Which to me is kind of synonymous with don't judge, like non-judgment, right? You're paying attention to your body, but you're not judging it, right? It's like, hey, it's acknowledgement, but it's not giving it a good or a bad weight, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I think through mindfulness comes, it actually, research has proven that empathy for others and empathy for yourself, which is the loving kindness and the self-compassion.
The meta meditation, right? And here's what I love about the meditation. We spend a lot of time thinking about ourselves.
Yeah.
Right. And this is like an opportunity, even, and like I'll pull out midday and do like a 5-minute meditation just so I can think of some other people and not think about my own shit. Right. But because that's what we do, right? We think about all the stuff that we've got going on for ourselves. If we can take just 5 minutes, give ourselves 1 minute in there, we're like, all right, well, this if you're not familiar with meditation, explain the meditation real quick for somebody who's never done it.
Sure. So yeah, metta meditation is also known as loving kindness meditation. Very accessible, on apps or on YouTube if you'd like. I also have one on my website. It will guide you through a very incredible meditation where you are seeing others in front of you and sending them loving and kind words. You also go typically back and forth between sending others loving and kind words and then yourself loving and kind words. And through that, the state of the brain actually changes, and you can see benefits from that very quickly.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. And I still remember my first rounds of meditation. I did it Headspace, and then I didn't do it for like 2 weeks, and then I was irritable as hell. and I tracked back. I was like, "What's different? What? You know what I mean?" Because I hadn't done it, and I was able to track it back to meditation, and I'm sure I missed a day here or there, but it's part of my daily life. So if you're an irritable, scroggy son of a bitch, you might want to try meditating.
I would recommend.
So where can we send people to go find you and all the things that you're doing right now?
Yeah, I am a connector, so I would love to connect with you guys, chat more about this stuff. I'm definitely someone that is on Instagram a lot. You can find me at Marisa Rose Nash, and my website is thewellco.org. I'm also on Facebook at Marisa Rose Nash or The Wellco by Marisa Rose. So feel free to reach out. I do also offer free 30-minute soul sessions where we explore limiting belief in one of the 9 areas of wellness to help you get unstuck and find a little bit of freedom there.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks a lot for stopping by today. Glad you took the chance.
Thank you.